Welcome to the Jake Sewell Podcast. On today's episode, my guest is Terra Haisley. Terra is the owner and executive director of TerraTime. TerraTime offers high-quality outdoor enrichment programs for children ages 3 to 12. Terra, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for stopping by and talking to me. Wanted to have you on. You have started a outdoor program, kind of a nature program for children as a summer activity.
Yes, an enrichment program for kids. Nature play, getting kids outside learning, playing, and moving.
That's such a great idea and so important in our world of TV screens and iPads and computer screens. It's a wonderful idea. Now, where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in Texas, but I grew up in Alaska. So my family moved there when I was 5 years old, and that's where I grew up, surrounded by nature and amazing beauty, great places to play as a kid. Things I just took for granted growing up in a place that I had space to just be able to explore. And
what part of Alaska was that?
Wasilla is where I spent most of the years that I was there. So it's about 45 minutes out of Anchorage.
Okay, so pretty rural area then.
It was then. It's grown quite a bit. Doesn't look like the same town I grew up in. So,
what was it like in Alaska compared to here in the Midwest?
A lot less roads, a lot less people. Of course, now it has changed. We lived about 20 minutes from a gas station and grocery store, and we did have neighbors, but not a lot of. In order to go to any large malls, we would have to drive to Anchorage for that. Now the town I grew up in has Lowe's, Home Depot, Super Walmart, just about anything that you could find in any city. So, yeah.
How are the winters up there?
Cold. Lots of snow.
We hear the horror stories about winters in Alaska compared to here. So.
Yeah, thankfully I did live. It's the southern part of Alaska, so it's not as severe as like what you see on some of the reality TV shows. That type of thing. So.
Yeah, it's such a big state that the climates, I'm sure, vary quite a bit.
Yeah, depending on where you're at.
Now, how did you end up here in the Muncie, Indiana area?
My husband was in the Air Force when I met him, so we got married in Alaska, and when he got out of the Air Force, they moved him back to his hometown of Albany, Indiana. So long story short, we ended up in Oklahoma, and then we were in Ohio, which is actually where I went to school. And then we moved back about 6 years ago, so we've been here in the community for 6 years now.
Where'd you get to school in Ohio?
Rhode State in Lima, Ohio.
Okay.
Yep.
Me and my wife, Jill, went to school in Findlay.
Oh,
just
wonderful.
right up the road from Rhodes, yeah. And
yeah.
She's actually from Columbus, Ohio. But yeah, Rhodes, see a lot of other people and signs and stuff driving through there on my way to Findlay.
Yeah, they have a great reputation and a great program. So, yeah.
What made you choose Rhodes?
Location. It was what was available. Yeah, I actually was looking at going into nursing, and one of my friends said, you should come see what I do. I work with occupational therapy. I think you'd be great at it. And so I observed her and fell in love with it, and that's why I went to school for it. So
now, as an OT, you work in the school systems, right?
I do, yes.
Which school system is that?
I am part of the Muncie Schools Co-op, but I work in mainly Delaware Community Schools and Blackford County Schools. So I'm 8 different schools that I cover.
What's a typical day for an OT in a school?
Well, there's not always a typical day. It really does vary. It just depends on what the needs of the students are and what is going on in the building at the time. In the schools, occupational therapy is considered a support service, so it looks different than the medical setting. In the schools, in order to have occupational therapy services, they need an IEP and they need to have goals that we can support for education. And so we come alongside staff, and many times what we're doing is our interventions look a lot like games and playing. We're addressing underlying issues and the needs that the kids have, but it's a lot of fun. It looks like it's a lot of fun. And so I'm a CODA, so it's a certified occupational therapy assistant. And so my supervising OT does all the evaluations, and I get to do the fun part of actually providing interventions.
What ages do you work with?
I am working with preschool through middle school students.
Do you stay at a school for a week or a day, or do you just bounce around throughout the week? How's that work?
Yeah, I do have a schedule that I follow as far as schools know what building I'm going to be in what day of the week. Blackford County Schools, I do alternate weeks with some of the schools, but for the most part, I'm in the elementary schools 1 day a week.
What kind of fun activities do you get to do with kids?
Really, it's as broad and creative as you can think of. This last week, we were Well, one of the things the kids love to do is putty. It's such a simple thing. Beads and putty, it sounds, I mean, it's such a common thing because kids just love it and they find beads, but it works on hand strength. Some of the other things we do, I just played a game called Spot It that the kids really do love playing, and it works on the visual motor skills that kids have. So another one that I've done recently the kids really enjoy is it's word pictures, and they have to actually move their body according to the words that they see. So they're working on reading, visual motor, just the whole body awareness thing. So there's a lot of fun.
So do you typically, is a student referred to go work with an OT at a school?
Yeah, so usually the way it works, if a student has an IEP, the teacher or administrator usually contacts us and says, the student is struggling in some areas that OT can address, and we've already tried certain things. And so they request, usually I go in and do a screening in the classroom. I would start by giving feedback to teachers about some ideas of things that they can try. And then they usually try to implement those things. And if it doesn't work, then we usually follow up with an evaluation.
Over the last few years, have you seen a change in students as far as less activity or less physical activity?
Well, one of the things I've noticed in going in, there's been an increase in just requests for me to come screen students. That's one of the things I've noticed. And then in addition, when I've been in the classroom screening those students and I'm observing what's going on, if you just look across the classroom, there's kids just really struggling to sit still. A lot of fidgeting, a lot of, foot tapping, rocking in their chair, leaning across their desk, just things where trying to pay attention, or the weak core falling out of their chair because of lack of like body awareness. So and these are kids that don't have IEPs. They're functional in the school setting, but they're just sitting there kind of struggling to keep up.
Is that probably from lack of physical activity, of kind of getting that energy out, I guess you would say?
Yes, yeah. So the increase I've seen has really been in the last 3 to 5 years. It may have been going on longer than that, but I've just really noticed that increase in the last 3 to 5 years. And as I've been looking for resources for parents and staff to be able to just address some of those needs, just the reoccurring research is our kids are not moving like they need to in order to get the input that their bodies need to be able to focus and attend. It's affecting their sensory systems. There's just so many things that it's affecting.
Do you think that's not enough physical activity during the school day, like recesses, gym classes, or at home?
I think it's a combination of all of it. When I do check with my kids, and I kind of do a little survey with them, not really knowing, just asking, so what are your favorite things to do when you get home? And it is typically video games, which is very common, or TV or movies. Some kids enjoy reading, and then there's a few kids that really enjoy playing outside. But for the most part, the feedback I'm getting is, it is a lot of screen time.
I can definitely believe that in our society today, and not just children, but it seems like adults, teenagers, people in their 30s, 40s, whatever, are on screens all the time, whether it's phone, iPads, television, and I'm sure a lot of parents use it as a babysitter.
Oh, yeah.
One thing your program really is all about is being outside and in nature. I was fortunate as a kid. I grew up on 10 acres. Half of it was woods. I was always outside and, catching bugs, whatever, just running around playing outside. And a lot of my friends, when they go fishing with their parents or they do other outdoor activities like hiking, I don't seem like a lot of kids do that, or parents take their kids outdoors.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think every family is a little different in what their interests are and even how they were raised. I do know, just from my perspective, what I've seen, there's a really big push for organized sports, which I'm not against organized sports. With everything, I think there needs to be balance. So I see the value of organized sports, but I think our culture just really pushes activity. And so we have busy adults who are then having busy children. And so I think some people are really catching on to the value of rest and having space in time to be able to just rest and enjoy life.
Yeah, being on the go is good, but to a point, you got to get away, whether it's a nice hike at a state park. I mean, we have so many nice state parks and city parks around here. There's really not an excuse to go utilize them because they're very inexpensive.
Yeah. I think part of that, too, is the mind shift, maybe. I think sometimes parents, at least some of the parents I talk to, there's like an unspoken almost guilt of like, if I don't have my kids involved, they're going to be missing out on something. And so just giving parents the permission that it's okay. Play is the work of childhood, and it is a good thing to let them just play and get them out and have fun.
Yeah. I mean, kids can go to a park and can build forts. They don't have to have an organized sport. I mean, I love organized sports. I was involved myself, but the outside time is very important. Was it these kind of observations that led you to start TerraTime?
Yeah, I know, again, like our culture, just the busyness. The other thing that I see is, whereas even when my kids were young, I could say go to the park and come back. And there was this feeling of I wasn't concerned. And our culture's changed. There are some legitimate concerns about just letting kids roam. And so the combination of just providing those opportunities and also providing the education for parents is kind of where my heart's at, of just giving kids the opportunity to be able to do the things that I got to experience in my childhood and just took for granted. So, and then just educating parents on the, what is safe risk taking? What is it? Why is it important for kids to play, and the value of that? And just, it may take a while. I see, of course, I'm focused on researching those things. So I am seeing a change, and I'm seeing a shift in perspectives. I think people are becoming more aware of the value of those things, and so I'm encouraged by that. I think we're moving in the right direction. So just trying to spread that awareness.
Where is TerraTime located at?
We are located actually on our property just outside of Albany. Our summer programs are held on private property. We have 9.5 acres of mostly woods. So that is where we're going to be holding our summer programs. We've cleared an area and just got rid of some of the hazards, the thorns and the poison ivy, that type of stuff that you would find, just to be safe from preschoolers on up. And then we also have some trails back there that kids would be able to use.
What types of activities will the children get to do this summer?
One of the things that's a little bit different about TerraTime is we are not activity driven. So I'm not saying we don't plan things, but what our role as the teachers are, we have curriculum that is designed to set up to address the different areas of the STEM or STEAM, if you've heard of that: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And then we also have looked at Indiana's standards, and so we're looking at those for educational outcomes, but we're really creative in how we deliver that. And so our role as the teachers and the leaders is we are setting the environment for kids to learn, and we give them what we would call loose parts. So we set those things out, and then at the beginning of the day we actually have a teaching moment. So one of our weeks is like a literacy week, and we would actually read a story, and it's the Fairy Tales and Friends week. So we have a preschool and then a little bit older kids week. And so that would involve reading a story, and then part of our teaching is through guided questions. And so it kind of changes the way our learning looks. And so from that jumping point of reading a story, then the kids would then go to the areas that we have set up, and there would be loose parts. So just to give an example, if they were reading about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, we would then, when they would go to play, they would have objects that they could build a bear cottage and then set up and reenact that story if they chose to. We have an engineering type of building place. We also have a place for arts and creativity, nature and science. So there's just different areas that we try to target, and we let the kids direct their own play and problem solve. Some of the older kids, one of the things that we do is we present a challenge to them, so they would learn something new. 2 weeks this summer, one's about sun and one's about the water. So there is a little bit of education that we have to give, but it's just a jumping off point for them to go, okay, we've learned about water today. Here's some stations set up. Here's some materials. What can you learn about evaporation? I'm just giving an example. And so they would use those pieces and parts, and they would problem solve as teams and working together to figure those things out.
Yeah, I think children left alone in their own device are incredibly smart. And just given a little bit of direction or some sort of pieces to work with would probably do some amazing things.
Yeah. One of the phrases that we use is the wonder of outdoor play. And I think that is something that is just really awe-inspiring when you see it, is how kids can come up with things that you would never even think of doing if you just let them go and just see what they can do.
Yeah, and for those kids that get to read a story and then reenact them, and it's way better than a book report.
Right.
What kind of benefits will the children get from this program?
Well, there's quite a few. Some of the ones that we are targeting really have to do with spontaneous play, cooperative effort, working together with other students, self-awareness. That's some of the risk taking of just learning what your ability is and what's safe. The social skills, motor planning, problem solving. Sensory integration is something that is part of what they would be learning. We're encouraging creativity and curiosity, just learning self-reliance, that confidence that comes from going, I can do this, and I don't need a teacher telling me exactly the step-by-step what needs, or an adult step-by-step. So, and then of course, just the increased knowledge of being in nature and that appreciation. Some kids just don't quite know what to do.
I know we've talked on the phone before, and you mentioned you've had a lot of interest from different families and different children. Have you noticed a kind of a type of child, like a child that's really in the outdoors that wants to come do it, or has it been a pretty good variety of?
It has been a variety. So there hasn't been a typical family. I haven't seen a pattern yet. Let me just put it that way. I think it's not for, if students have special needs, they would be welcome. We would be looking at how to make sure that they can be included in the program, but it's not geared just for special needs students. So it's really any child could benefit from this program.
Now, obviously, you get quite a few children out at your property. How many team members are you going to be working with?
Our ratio is for children under the age of 5, it's 1 to 6, and then children 5 and older, it's 1 adult for every 8 children. So, and we intentionally are keeping our program small. So the most children that we would have in a week program would be 26. And so there is a lot of value in for kids having space to play. And so we just have intentionally made sure to keep our program small. So we would probably have 3 to 14 members on site each week, depending on how many kids we have.
Now, do you have your team members already lined up for the summer?
We do, for the summer. I'm really excited.
How did you come across getting people to come help you out?
It's been a lot of fun sharing my idea with teachers and educators and administrators. They really get it and they're excited. So I have worked with a couple of teachers that, just have mentioned kind of in passing, not knowing that I was putting this together, and just things just kind of clicked. So we have actually 3 different teachers will be teaching our programs this summer. One is Sarah Parker, who's a special education teacher at Albany. Michelle Alley is a first grade teacher at Royerton. And Lindsay Roberts is a second grade teacher at Royerton also. So they are our lead teachers. And then Amanda Lancaster is an instructional assistant at Eaton, and she is going to be involved in actually every program this summer. So all of these people have a passion for working with kids and really being out in nature. And so I'm so excited for them and for the kids to be able to experience.
So did you really know these 4 before you started this program, just working through the schools, or was it just word of mouth about your program?
No, it was actually working in the schools with them, and just kind of I work with amazing people. So it was hard to choose. Like I say, it was getting to know them and having those relationships, and then just little things that just kind of clued me in that, they might be a good fit. And so what I would do is I just told them about what I was doing, and we met for dinner, and I just, said, hey, is this something you would like to be a part of? I would love to have you as part of the team. So that's kind of how it came about. The 2 who are developing the curriculum, Betsy Duckworth is a special education teacher, and then Jerry Harmon is a high agility teacher. So they have a big viewpoint of perspective and a lot of experience, just bringing them on to be able to set things up and get things ready for the summer. So
yeah, it sounds like you've really done your research not just only on the programs, but who's going to be helping, a wide variety of backgrounds coming in to help you out.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think that I couldn't do this alone. I mean, I did when I first started. In my mind, I was like, I could just do a week in the summer, invite some kids I know that are struggling, and just kind of do a week of just with very simple. But then I talked to my insurance company and realized, they're not going to cover kids playing out in my woods. So it just kind of grew from there. And so, just the amount of work that's involved and really providing quality programs involves a team. And so just reaching out to people, and there are so many gifted and talented people out there just who are really just excited to be a part of something like this. So I've just been thrilled with the response and the involvement of other people.
So do you remember when you actually, it clicked in your head, you're like, I want to do this?
Yeah, it was actually last spring is when, and part of it was my frustration with the limits of the amount of time I had with kids in the school setting. I felt like I was just kind of handing out Band-Aids for things. I just didn't have the time to address the needs. And so it was last spring where I was just like, so I need to provide something more for parents who just don't, well, when I was looking, there was no other outdoor program that I could find, a nature play type program in our area. The East Coast and West Coast, they have, schools and programs popping up, but nothing's really hit the Midwest yet. So
yeah, it seems like we're on some things always a couple years behind the coast.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad, but
Yeah, and when I was looking at those programs, there are some really amazing resources out there, but their programs just didn't quite fit what I was wanting to accomplish. And so my husband just encouraged me. He's like, "You've got great connections with people. Let's just try putting something together." So that's what we did.
So he was on board with it as well.
Oh yeah, he'd have to be.
That's great.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone this far. He's been a great source of encouragement, and just anytime I doubt myself or question, he's like, "You got this. Just go for it. What's the worst that could happen?"
Right. So after this first initial idea, what were the steps that you took to get established as a nonprofit? I'm assuming.
Well, after talking to my insurance and realizing, okay, this is going to have to be bigger than just me doing something like a hobby kind of thing. So I went ahead and met with Innovation Connector.
On White River.
Yes, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I said the name right.
Yeah.
So I worked with a small business mentor, and I just kind of pitched my idea and said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. I'm not sure exactly where I need to go next and what direction. And he gave me a list of things. I went home, worked through those, came back, met with him, said, this is where we're at. These are my questions. What do I need to do next? He'd give me the next steps, just directions and feedback, who I needed to talk to. So it's been quite a process. We've been putting things together for over a year, and it's fun to see it get to the point that it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a great resource in our community is the Innovation Connector. I think it's Connector. I hope I said that right. I know other businesses, small businesses that have worked with them to get their idea off the ground. Mm-hmm. Now, did you guys have any experience in starting a business before this?
My husband used to work in a handyman service, so his was an LLC, so we had a little bit. It wasn't as organized and structured. He was his own. It was only him. So we didn't have other staff, didn't have to have the structure or the liability stuff and things in place.
What type of liability do you have to have, like insurance or, to protect yourself and your property?
Yeah, that was probably our biggest hurdle. I thought was actually it wasn't going to happen because we don't fit into a daycare. We don't fit into the category of a camp. And so insurance companies just didn't quite know what to do with me. I wasn't connected to a school building. There was just a big question. So I finally found an insurance company in Indianapolis that worked with us to cover us for liability issues. And one of the things I love about their company is they also help guide us through okay, these things need to be in place for safety. So, we already knew some of these things needed to be there just because we're working with children. But, they helped us with, making sure we had background checks, the CPR, first aid type stuff, how our site needed to be inspected, what we needed to look for, how do we inspect equipment for safety. So they just had a lot of resources as an insurance company. And then I also met with a lawyer to just say, okay, what do I need to know, what I need to be aware of? And so, the safety of the kids and the safety of our staff are very important. And so we just wanted to make sure that we were covering everything and that we were just had things ready to go so that just make sure things run smoothly. And if there are bumps and bruises and accidents that might happen, how do we handle that? So those plans are in place, and that way we'll know ahead of time.
Now, when you started getting this going, you mentioned the schools got behind you. How did the community react to putting this idea out there of having some sort of activities and programs for children?
Great response. I've been so thankful for how people have helped get the awareness out there. We do realize that there are several families in our communities that just have some pretty big barriers to be able to access our programs. And so we did start a sponsor fund for children, and we contacted all the businesses with an Albany address and just said, hey, this is what we're doing. Would you like to come alongside and sponsor a child? And so we've had some response from that. So it's been nice to have people just coming alongside and helping us, and just, if nothing else, getting the word out and saying, hey, this is what's going on in our community.
What businesses in the Albany area helped you guys out?
Right Way Collision Repair, Meacham Funeral Homes, the Legion, 167, I think is the number that goes.
167.
Yes, yep. And then also Alaska Heating and Air.
Great. Yeah, it's a great community. Actually, I had Brad Doherty on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's one of my first guests, and we talked, of course, his Christian going through everything he's going through, and he talks so highly of the Albany community.
Yeah.
Being so supportive. So it does not surprise me at all that they jumped on board with your project.
Yeah.
What all have you done to get the word out other than just word of mouth? Any advertising, social media?
Social media has been a pretty big way of awareness. That's where I've had the most feedback and connection from people that I didn't know otherwise. We've also provided flyers in the schools that are available to families. We've also, at the Women in Business Luncheon, I shared information there also. And then, word of mouth has actually been one of the most powerful ways. It seems like if someone has that personal connection already and tells someone about it, it's received a lot better than just an advertisement floating somewhere. Right. So, so the value of that it's been huge.
Now, is this just going to be 1 week for each age group, or are you going to run multiple weeks?
Yeah, this summer we have 5 programs, 5 weeks planned. So when you sign up for a program, you're signing up for a week. The younger children are the preschool age 3 to 5 are half day, so from 9 to 12, Monday through Friday. And then the older kids, 5 and older, are from 9 to 2, Monday through Friday.
If you guys have a great response, which it sounds like you already have, is this something, because summer break is so short nowadays, you might open up during a fall break or a spring break?
Yeah, that's one of the things with running a small program is we're limited on space. And so I'm actually meeting with the small business mentor again, talking about, okay, so there's a need and there's interest. How do we grow? And so we actually have 2 locations that we're looking at for next summer to add programs in different communities. Pretty much if there's an elementary school, there could be a program for the summer, just because for the number of kids involved. So we're looking for people who have property that has woods on it, or a creek, or some type of nature environment that they'd be willing to have kids on. Our insurance does cover us renting property from private individuals.
I think that would be the biggest concern.
Yes, and so we do have an agreement that we've worked up with a lawyer to help cover them and their property, and also to explain what rights we have on the property as far as having kids there. So that is something that we're looking for, our locations, and then also people who really have a passion for kids and getting kids outside in nature that would be willing to be a site director. So they'd be responsible for that location, and they would have to go through a training process to be able to do that.
Another thing I saw on your website is a Meet Me at the Park program.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, we're in the process of developing that right now, so I probably have more, you guys probably have more questions than I have answers to right now. But the heart behind that is, not only do we want to provide opportunities for children, but we also want to provide the education piece for parents. So the idea behind that is that we would go to a park, have an hour long where it would be guided, we'd have activities, and in that process, we would be teaching parents about, what does safe risk-taking look like according to age groups? Like, what's appropriate? What do you look for? How do you handle that? How do you know I need to intervene? How do I go, it's okay, deep breath, just let them figure this out? It's hard as parents sometimes to know how to handle that. So that would be part of the piece. And also just kind of educating parents on, okay, this looks like they're just painting, but really what they're learning is fine motor, the visual motor, just kind of teaching that piece of, not that you need to be a college educated person to be able to understand it, but just to understand the value behind what they're doing. And then along with that also is just getting parents together with other parents. So, a lot's changed since my kids were little, and I have found when parents get together, they teach each other and collaborate and share ideas about what's working. And so just giving the opportunity for other parents to come together with their kids and play, that's really what that's about.
Yeah, I know our son's 16 months. I know anytime we get with other parents, we immediately talk about children.
Oh, yeah.
And exchange ideas about how we get them to sleep better or whatever it might be. So,
yeah.
Would you just use like local city parks, state parks, or?
Yeah, so that is the plan. And again, so that's pretty much wherever we find, if someone has a park that they want to, that's close to their home, and they want to start something like that, if they want to get in touch with me, we would provide training for that. It would need to be individuals that, of course, have a passion for working with kids and have a love for being outdoors. We do background checks, of course, on anybody, any adult that's working with children. So there is a process involved in order to do that, but we are open to really, we just want to get the message out, get opportunities out there for kids to be playing and for parents to just get involved in that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to get kids not just outside, but outside with their parents. Now, with all this going on between work and getting this program going and growing that, what do you do outside work? What keeps you busy with your hobbies?
Fun. Well, this is our first year of Empty Nest. So we've had a lot of changes as far as schedules and running around. So we have really enjoyed our adult children. That's something that has been a great transition for us. So just all you mamas and daddies out there, hang in there, do the hard work, do the tough love with teenagers. And it's just really a blessing to be at that point. So we're enjoying our adult children, and we have 2 grandchildren and 1 on the way. So, this is a great stage of life to be in.
Yeah, that's what's keeping you busy.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
know how my parents are with Blair.
Yes. So, and then of course I always love reading. I still enjoy hiking, love being out in the outdoors, love traveling when we get a chance to do that. And one of the nerdy things I love to do is I love to organize. So this time of year, I love to get, in closets and
Good
I know.
Spring cleaning. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's just my thing. I love it.
Where do you guys like to travel to?
Well, it's wherever we just feel inspired to go. Usually it involves family. So my daughter's in Hawaii right now, so we have a trip planned to go visit her. So
Have you ever been there?
Yes, I have been before. So yeah.
My wife's been. I've never been. It's a bucket list thing for me.
It's a beautiful place, definitely.
Now, have you been back to Alaska anytime recently?
We usually try to go about every other year. It's actually been 3 years because of graduation and grandbabies coming. But so yeah, we try to get up there as much as we can. I still have family up there, so yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely another place I'd love to go. It looks so beautiful.
Yeah, I think everybody should at least visit and see it. There's no place like it. There's really not.
Well, I really appreciate you coming out and sharing your idea and your passion. It's something that's definitely needed, and it's almost a shame it is needed. The kids aren't getting outside and families aren't outside at the park instead of inside. But hopefully your program will get the ball rolling in our community.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's a great idea, and we'll definitely share the link on the Facebook, on the podcast page.
Thank you.
Where can people follow you? Either social media, website?
Yep, we do have a website. You can also subscribe to our email. We give updates regularly through email. Facebook. Facebook has been a combination of just that communication piece of what's going on, but also the education piece we do through Facebook, a lot of links and different resources for parents. We also do have Instagram and Twitter. So usually those are more inspiring or, quotes or things that just kind of, just give you that nudge to like, yeah, let's go do that, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I've been following you. I love the positive aspect. That's one thing about this podcast is I try to focus on the positive in the community. And this is definitely a great example of that. Now, your website is Terra, Terra time.org, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Definitely check that out. There's a lot of neat things on that. You can see all the team members and a little background on them. So, Terra, once again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I really look forward to talking to you again and maybe stopping by and checking out the programs. I think it's great. Maybe Blair here in a few years will get enrolled.
Oh, that would be wonderful. We'd love to have him. Thank you for this opportunity to share.
Absolutely. As always, you can contact me via email on the jakeswellpodcast@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at the Jakeswell Podcast. Thanks.